Tonight, what we're just learning about the suspect in that deadly mass shooting and arson at a Michigan church. The brutal ambush, killing 4, leaving 8 others hurt, including a 6-year-old. New stories of worshipers helping to rush the wounded outside as the church went up in flames. Officials now calling it an act of targeted violence. What one man told us after a chance encounter with the shooter. And tonight, yet another shocking attack. A Marine with a Purple Heart arrested, accused of opening fire into a waterfront bar, killing 3. The latest in a violent stretch of shootings in America. Tropical Storm Imelda turning deadly in the Caribbean. The powerful system on the move tonight, and Al Roker across its latest track. Shutdown, showdown. An 11th hour White House meeting gets us no closer to a deal. Why flights and more could be affected if leaders can't come to an agreement in less than 24 hours. The president pushing a Gaza peace plan. Israel has agreed, but will Hamas sign on? Why country superstar Dolly Parton is postponing her Vegas residency. How big brands are trying to lure in a new generation of shoppers and sippers by including a cup of coffee with your new purse. And what if you could decide how much you pay for dinner inside the fine dining restaurant with food truck prices? All of it on the honor system. Nightly News starts right now.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Yamas.
Good evening. I'm Hallie Jackson in for Tom, and we begin tonight with new reporting in that horrific church attack in Michigan. 4 people killed, 8 others hurt in that shooting and arson. Flames engulfing the building, and you can see today, leaving only the charred frame. We are now learning more about the shooter who was killed by police, from his family, and from a man who had a chance encounter with the suspect days before he drove his truck into the Church of Latter-day Saints. Tonight, investigators searching for more about the Iraq War veteran, his military background, his prior arrests, and his arsenal that included 4 IEDs. All of it as other attacks dominate the headlines, including in North Carolina and in Texas. On average, at least 1 mass shooting every single day this year, according to experts. The violence, a heart-sickening reality, leaving so many asking, can this really be life in America? Our Maggie Vespa is in Grand Blanc, Michigan, to start us off.
From above in Grand Blanc, Michigan, investigators comb charred rubble looking for a motive in Sunday's attack on a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
The FBI is investigating this as an act of targeted violence.
Can you tell us who you believe the target was? A specific person, the LDS Church, another group?
As of right now, again, as this is an ongoing investigation, what I would say is when I say targeted violence, I mean targeted within our state and within our community.
Chris Johns has his own suspicions.
He asked you, what do you think of Mormons?
Yes, that is his question.
Johns is running for city council in the area, and last week, while campaigning, says he drove up to the home of 40-year-old Thomas Jacob Sanford, who first asked him his views on guns, then Mormons, adding he dated a woman in Utah.
He said Mormons are the Antichrist, and he said it in a very matter-of-fact.
He said Mormons are the Antichrist.
Just like that, deadpan, matter-of-fact.
Johns said Sanford remained calm. Days later, Johns saw his picture, identified as the gunman in Sunday's attack. Authorities now saying Sanford had multiple past arrests, including one for burglary.
Chilling when you saw what happened?
Extremely.
In a statement provided exclusively to NBC News, the gunman's father writing, "We are devastated. We don't know what to think," calling Sanford a Christian and a loving father, son, and husband. The statement adds he was a Marine, and we are completely in shock over this. We have no answers. Authorities say 4 are dead and 8 injured. The youngest person hurt, a 6-year-old child. When Sanford's truck crashed into the church, Paul Kirby, there with his family, ran to help.
I saw the gun and him starting to shoot, and I turned and ran, went back towards the doors. I got a little bit of shrapnel in my left leg.
You said you ran back in toward your family, just wanting to save your wife and kids.
Yeah, the scariest I've ever been.
Kirby says parishioners carried kids and the wounded out the back. Minutes later, the church going up in flames.
I am extremely lucky to be alive.
Maggie is joining us now from the scene. And Maggie, you're learning more about what investigators are finding there?
Yeah, Hallie, that's right. They now say the gunman had in his truck 4 IEDs, or improvised explosive devices. They say 2 seem to be made of multiple commercial-grade fireworks kind of taped together, and then 2 were designed to create a lot of smoke, and they say none were detonated. Meanwhile, while the investigation continues, we've been told all victims have now been accounted for. Hallie.
Maggie Vespa live in Michigan. Thank you. That mass shooting there, just the latest in a wave of violent incidents in this country, including a suspect who opened fire over the weekend at a waterfront bar in North Carolina, killing 3 people. Here's Aaron Gilchrist.
This waterfront bar, popular with tourists, the scene of another horrific mass shooting.
For advising, it's coming from a subject on the boat shooting into the building from the boat.
In court today, prosecutors revealing they believe the suspect, 40-year-old Nigel Max Edge, intended to carry out the shooting at the American Fish Company in Southport on Friday night, but another passing boat interrupted his plan. Investigators say he returned the next day, opening fire from a boat just feet from the bar's deck, where dozens of people were listening to live music. Police calling the attack highly premeditated.
We heard one pop. I looked up thinking it was fireworks. The next thing you know, people were running around the corner to see the carnage. You never get that out of your head with somebody shot in the head and sitting there trying to console his wife with her husband dead right beside her.
Like the suspect in Michigan, Edge is a Marine Corps veteran and Purple Heart recipient who served in Iraq. Edge said he suffers from PTSD, according to the police chief.
One thing is clear. We must do more to prevent these acts of violence. It has to be our top priority.
There have now been 324 mass shootings in the U.S. this year. Experts say attacks motivated by both ideology and fame are on the rise.
Kind of becomes a bit of a snowball effect where there are more violent role models out there, and then those violent role models can inspire new copycat attacks by people who want to be like them.
The district attorney here says Edge did make some incriminating statements to investigators, but they did not offer any theories about a motive for the shooting. Hallie?
Aaron Gilchrist, thank you. Up and down the East Coast tonight, millions are starting to feel the impact of Tropical Storm Imelda, including our Jesse Kirsch, joining us live from Charleston, South Carolina. Jesse, talk us through the threat where you are on Folly Beach tonight.
Yeah, Hallie, there's concern about rough waves like these as well as rip tides thanks to Imelda. And this tropical storm has now turned deadly. According to Cuban state media, at least one person was killed by a landslide there. Right now, the Bahamas is being hit by the storm, which will become a hurricane. However, Imelda will not strike the U.S. That's thanks to Hurricane Umberto. The force of that storm helping clear the way for Imelda to move out into open water away from the U.S. mainland. So while there's concern about the rough surf as well as potentially some coastal flooding, the Imelda storm will not be hitting the U.S., catching a break this time. Hallie.
And that is good news there. Jesse Kirsch, thanks. Let's bring in Al Roker now, helping us track these tropical threats. So, Al, nothing as far as impact on the East Coast, but walk us through the next couple of days when it comes to rain, wind, et cetera.
Well, we will be, Hallie, looking at some rip currents from Florida all the way up into New England. Right now, we've got Imelda and we've got Umberto. Still a Category 4 for Umberto. Right now, a tropical storm for Imelda. Last time we had 2 storms this close together, 2016. Well, right now, it looks like the 2 storms will crisscross on either side of Bermuda. As you can see, those coastal areas, large waves and rip currents. We do look for Imelda to be about 250 miles away from Bermuda. However, Umberto is going to be going just about, I should say Imelda, just about 20 miles from Bermuda. But again, good news is we have dodged a big bullet on this one, Hallie.
That is for sure. Al Roker watching it all. Thanks. To the White House now, with a major announcement from President Trump on a possible peace plan in Gaza and a major catch. Israel has agreed to the deal, but will Hamas? Here's Gabe Gutierrez.
Nearly 2 years after the Hamas October 7th terror attack started the war in Gaza, tonight President Trump mixing hyperbole with diplomacy.
One of the great days ever in civilization.
As he unveiled a new framework for a ceasefire deal.
We're at a minimum very, very close, and I think we're beyond very close.
Meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu here at the White House, who says Israel is on board.
I support your plan to end the war in Gaza, which achieves our war aims.
The proposal would begin with an immediate ceasefire, requiring Hamas release all of its hostages within 72 hours in exchange for a phased withdrawal of Israeli troops and the release of Palestinian prisoners. Plus, full aid would be sent into Gaza.
I challenge the Palestinians to take responsibility for their destiny, because that's what we're giving them.
The plan requires Hamas disarm. An international stabilization force made up of troops from Arab nations would provide security. Gaza would be governed not by Hamas, but by a new Palestinian committee overseen by an international body, led by President Trump and other world leaders.
The Board of Peace, we call it, the Board of Peace, sort of a beautiful name.
But so far, the president saying Hamas has not signed off on his plan, giving the green light to Israel to keep its war against Hamas going, if they say no.
Israel would have my full backing to finish the job of destroying the threat of Hamas.
This can be done the easy way, or it can be done the hard way, but it will be done.
Tonight, several key Arab countries, including Saudi Arabia and Qatar, just praised President Trump's plan, but at least one Hamas spokesperson is criticizing it. Meanwhile, also today, the White House says Netanyahu expressed deep regret in a phone call with Qatari officials after ordering an airstrike targeting Hamas leadership there earlier this month. Hallie?
Gabe Gutierrez at the White House. Also in Washington, with just over 24 hours until a partial government shutdown, a deal still seems out of reach, even after a high-stakes White House meeting late today. Ryan Nobles has those new developments.
Just a little more than 24 hours from a partial federal government shutdown, tonight congressional leaders and President Trump appear no closer to striking a deal to keep the government open. After a high-stakes White House meeting, both sides emerging, pointing fingers.
I think we're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing.
Their bill has not one iota of Democratic input. That is never how we've done this before.
House Republicans already passed a spending bill to keep the government open, but so far cannot get enough Democratic votes to pass it through the Senate. Republicans blaming top Senate Democrat Chuck Schumer, saying he won't support the bill to please the Democratic base.
You don't put a gun to the American people's head and say, unless you do exactly what Senate and House Democrats want you to do, we're going to shut down your government.
Noting 6 months ago, Schumer voted for a similar spending bill, known as a CR, to keep the government open.
While the CR bill is very bad, the potential for a shutdown has consequences for America that are much, much worse.
But Democrats accuse Republicans of not being serious about negotiating, warning the GOP will pay a political price.
Republicans control the House and the Senate, and as a Republican president. If the government shuts down, it's because Republicans want to shut the government down.
If there's a shutdown, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid payments, and VA benefits would continue. And essential workers like active duty military and air traffic controllers stay on the job. But national parks could close, and many federal workers, including at the IRS, could go without pay.
You can't go to the grocery store and say, well, there's a bill that was passed and I'll get paid and I'll come back and pay you for these groceries.
Ryan is joining us here on set in Washington. And Ryan, in other developing news breaking late today, we're also learning now about this settlement between the Trump administration and YouTube's parent company. What's up?
Yeah, Hallie, that's right. Alphabet, which is YouTube's parent company, has agreed to settle a lawsuit filed by President Trump after the platform removed his account in the wake of January 6th. Alphabet will pay $24.5 million to settle the lawsuit. $22 million of that total will be used to help fund President Trump's new White House ballroom. Hallie.
Ryan Nobles, thank you very much for that. Ahead on Nightly News, from Ralph Lauren to Coach, even Capital One, how a growing list of stores is turning to coffee to bring in foot traffic. Next. Back now with some consumer news, with Coach getting into the shop and sip business. The luxury handbag brand just opening up its newest coffee cafe, hoping to lure in Gen Z shoppers to spend more time and more money. Christine Romans takes us there.
Reminds me of, it's so cute. I had to have that.
How about a matcha latte with that handbag?
Y'all, this is not a drill.
The s'mores latte, the tabby cake,
even sweet little treats.
Coach hoping to build brand buzz for a generation raised on online shopping, now thirsty for experiences.
What do handbags and coffee, how do they go together?
You know, it's really all about the experience. Gen Z really wants tactile experiences, right? I think this experience is going to drive even more people to our brand.
Gen Z and millennials making up nearly 70% of Coach's new customers in North America last quarter.
Think less click and ship and more shop and sip.
Oh, and it's eminently postable on social media.
Are you more likely to buy more Coach stuff if you come for coffee too?
Yes, yes.
So what draw you to the coffee?
TikTok.
TikTok,
yes.
Starbucks famously turned coffee into an experience. Other retailers like Ralph Lauren, Restoration Hardware, and even banks like Capital One are offering coffee options too.
But I thought people were exhausted by inflation, but you're saying if the experience is right, people will still spend money.
If the experience is right, if the product is right, if it's in the right location, we know where we want to go, then people are certainly spending money on that, yes.
And posting online about it too. Christine Romans, NBC News, Elizabeth, New Jersey.
We are back in a moment with the visa fight complicating one music legend's American tour and why Dolly is delaying her Vegas residency. Back after this. Back now with a huge explosion caught on camera. I want you to look at this fireball here erupting at the site of the Firefly launch facility in Texas. The aerospace company says it happened during testing, adding they followed safety protocols and that everybody, fortunately, is safe. Singer-songwriter Cat Stevens says he's having to delay a book tour in the U.S. because of visa issues. The legendary musician, who wrote hits like Another Saturday Night and Peace Train, said months in limbo have forced him to postpone. Stevens, who famously converted to Islam and changed his name at the height of his fame, is the latest international performer to grapple with visa issues. And another music legend sharing a big update. Dolly Parton is postponing a series of Vegas concerts because of what she calls health challenges. The 79-year-old didn't get into specifics, but says her doctors told her she needs a few procedures. And Dolly being Dolly, she cracked a joke. It's not the usual trip to see my plastic surgeon, she says. Lots of folks hoping she gets well soon. When we come back, what if you could decide how much you pay for dinner? Your reservation to the new restaurant with some big name backing that works on the honor system when we return. These days, fine dining can be a splurge that for some feels out of reach. But one restaurant is hoping to change that by letting you pay whatever you can. Erin McLaughlin explains.
At first glance, this looks like a fancy dinner out at a pricey New York restaurant. Fresh, locally sourced food prepared by an award-winning chef.
The multiple little dishes with corn, it's like, I've never thought about those things so intensely.
The twist? Everyone who sits down for the 5-course set menu pays what they can, with a sliding scale of $15, $45, or $125.
It's opaque, that is to say, you don't know what I'm paying and I don't know what you're paying, and it's self-described.
It's an honor system that's the brainchild of former New York Times food columnist Mark Bittman. The Community Kitchen is a new nonprofit restaurant now open for the next few months.
This is great food sourced locally, cooked by people who are being treated well, and anyone can afford to eat it.
Chef Mavis J. Sanders takes us through the morning's haul from the farmer's market.
So we just got these peas in, and they taste delicious.
They're amazing. Right. I love that you're competing with Michelin star restaurants for your ingredients.
I love that I'm winning.
And for Mavis J., this is personal.
When I was young and I was working in Michelin star kitchens, and then I would go back home to Georgia, and I couldn't find the same kinds of fresh vegetables.
How satisfying is it to be able to serve up this food?
It's amazing.
At this community kitchen, the best bite is knowing everyone can afford one. Erin McLaughlin, NBC News, New York.
And that is Nightly News for this Monday. I'm Hallie Jackson. Tom will be back tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching and have a great night.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.